Welcome to the Reef Keeping Secrets Podcast, hosted by Shane Backer at SBB Corals. Listen and learn as we dive deep into the reef keeping industry, interviewing top reef keepers from around the world, from business to hobby. Join us on our journey.
Man, so guys, everybody, we have Andrew Sandler from Polo Reef. Andrew, thank you so much for, taking some time to talk with us tonight.
My pleasure, Shane.
Awesome, man. Hey, how long have you been in this hobby for?
As long as I can remember, growing up 6, 8 years old, riding my bicycle on parkways, taking home, kissing gouramis and things like that in my basket. Started freshwater, went to discus and angels, went to African cichlids, went to saltwater, went to college, took a break, and then back at it when I got home.
Nice, nice. Where was home back then? It obviously wasn't the same house. Was it the same town?
No. Home back then, I lived on the south shore of Long Island, and then went to school at Wisconsin and moved really from there. Well, I spent a semester skiing in Aspen, being a ski bum. Smashed into a tree and broke my tibia, and that started my work career in New York City.
Nice, nice. So how long, so obviously you've been in the hobby a while before you actually got like your dream house. I think a lot of hobbyists, they're really excited to, buy their first house or to buy their dream house because they know that they can really set up like their dream tank. Was that kind of the same for you as well?
Once I moved out of the city or got forced out of the city from having a dog that didn't want to use the service elevators to flooding a few floors below me with an RO gasket that went off in the middle of the night and just spewed 6 floors below me. They kicked me out of the building, and that's when I decided it was time to go and build some tanks.
Wow. So you actually got kicked out. Was it like a condo or a co-op?
It was a condo.
Wow. So you so you literally flooded the condo to the point where they're like, man, you got to go. Either you or your fish tanks got to go.
I literally woke up to the super, those phones that ring from the desks of the office, and it rang at 6 in the morning. And literally, as I opened my bedroom door to get the phone, I was greeted with an ankle full of water, of our water.
Oh my God!
It was pouring out all night, just spewing everywhere.
Oh my God. So wait, did it literally leak down like into the condo below you and then
Oh,
below
it did.
that one?
4 to 6 floors. There was a big insurance thing.
Oh man, that's a crazy story.
That's how you get there
Oh,
sometimes.
oh my God. So all right, so you obviously left there, and then this house that you have now, was that the house you bought, or was there like an interim
I had
house?
another house, another marriage that I had basically 2 1,000-gallon tanks. One was SPS dominant, one was soft coral dominant. And I lived in that house about 3.5, 4 years before the marriage blew up. And then from there, I rented 2 houses for a few years. I actually had a really nice reef tank in one of the rentals. I was there 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Actually got the Tank of the Month, the Reef Central in 2014 in June. And not that much after that, the planning and construction of this house started. So basically the first fish in wasn't till November 19th. So it was a good 5-6 years of construction in this house. We lived through it maybe halfway. The basement was a dirt zone. And finally got it open on November 2nd, 2019 for a Hewlett High School class reunion that I hosted at the house, and the party planners said, you must get life into that tank. And they weren't all quarantined yet. And of course, after day 30, I started seeing parasites.
Wow. So
I, I knew there
2019.
was a chance. I mean, that was like one of those smart chances. I actually chloroquined the whole display system, prosed it, and literally just started over.
Wow. So really what we're talking about then is, the evolution started basically in 2019. You basically got the house. It seems like when you bought the house
13.
was part of the
2013, the house closed.
Oh wow. So 2013 and then so what, like 6 years then in building?
6 years of construction, extensions, plumbing, dehumidification, the computer system, the quarantine tanks. Computer system took forever. HVAC, all the stuff outside. I actually had to dig. I think I'm about 50 feet below grade in the sub basement. So we were nailing steel pilings down, which the neighbors didn't really care for. And that room took a couple of years to build.
Wow. So I guess what I'm hearing is that the house was kind of built around the facility for the aquarium that you have.
I mean, the house was extended for it, and then changed. My wife changed a lot of it.
Yeah.
The lab
Yep.
we have was the garage that they used to keep their ATVs in. And then the quarantine rooms past that, that's all extension.
Nice. So basically, yeah. So 2019. Now it's basically 5 years in for the 17,000 gallon, and now you're
First
obviously
fish.
expanding first fish,
And then the first
and so
the first coral wasn't until like January or February of 22.
oh wow. So it's only been about 2 years. Yeah, I remember seeing on Facebook like the tank was kind of empty, and then all of a sudden it just kind of started flourishing, and
Yeah,
obviously behind you now. It's basically like a full coral reef, like if you were scuba diving, like out in the
that's
wild.
correct.
Yep.
We
And now,
uh, we mostly used a lot of tank breakdowns, a lot of mature colonies, people getting rid of their stuff. Um, Had to do a lot of quarantining because you don't know what's going on in there, and some flatworms got through in the beginning, and I think we got a handle on them now. Yeah, so this tank behind me, I don't know if I'll ever be done with it. There's one major project left. We are building a degassing chamber so that I lower the TGP in the water closer to 102, 103 as opposed to 106, 107, lower my oxygen and nitrogen. We've had cases of Popeyes, of fish blowing embolisms, just literally blowing up, weird things in gills, and people think it's from the TGP, and that's from 50 feet of waterfall just crashing down. It's from pressure being built up in the pipes, and that's what we're going to fix. So the sump basically has to be rebuilt. We're building an 8-foot tower that sits on the sump with Brentwood and bio balls that will be trickling down on the I guess it's the mains, and then on the returns, we think we need to put these membranes on them, and the membranes take out the gas, and the gas escapes from the top. And hopefully, in the next 6 8 weeks, this is done,
wow.
and we never have a problem with this again.
So something like that. I mean, not to say it's like an advanced problem, but obviously having such a big tank, a lot of people don't have that
No,
specific talent.
commercial aquariums. That's it.
Right.
That's it. And we had to go to a few and find some experts. And how big does this thing need to be in order to drop the TGP by X. And that was not an easy calculation for people. But we think we got it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You probably had to consult with some actual like aquariums on
Yeah,
exactly this.
Georgia Aquarium and a bunch of other ones.
So once it's fixed, what can we expect in terms of like stability, or what is it that's going to actually be like a benefit of the process of fixing that?
I don't think the corals mind really. Maybe the clams. So we'll see whether or not that was the clam problem. But some of these deeper water fish, their eyes would bulge. They would get gill bulging. A trigger would just be like, it looks like the body would just explode, like literally an embolism.
Mm.
I haven't had it in a while because we lowered the pumps a little bit. From maybe like 1,200 gallons a minute, maybe we're running 1,000 gallons a minute. So that's helped a little bit, but still, I want to get this done. It will also help the ozone degas, but it's a big project. A lot of pipe has to be moved. A lot of work in the sump.
Wow. And how thick are the pipes that you guys are working with there? I think they're like 6 inches.
9-inch.
9-inch pipes. Like, where do you even get those from? Is that all custom made?
I don't know where they get them from. They just built me. 8s and 9s.
Yeah. I know. I was talking to you earlier because usually, we do like a tour, but I know that there's no service down there. I know people would love to see like what a 9-inch pipe looked like. So maybe one day I'll have to go there and film.
Hold on.
Yeah. We don't want to lose you though. So make sure that you still have the.
You're not going to lose me here.
Okay. Yeah, as you're walking down there, there's so many places, there's so many things I want to ask you. It's like, where do I even start? But I think, definitely.
Let me just switch. Okay. That's 9-inch PVC.
Oh my God.
All through there.
Wow.
And let me just get you a picture of the tank on top with all the lights and
Yep.
controllers, and that's a rotating thing for cannons. And there's a lot of pipe that goes underneath. You can see
Jeez.
this goes underneath the floor and goes down under my sub-basement.
Wow. So everything is 9-inch pipe?
8 or 9,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. And so, like, I know now, obviously, you guys are building out, a bunch of different, areas. Like, do you know how many different systems you have? Like, not running on the same system, like completely separate systems.
Do you want to include the quarantine tanks, which are
Absolutely.
yes?
Yes.
So there's 4 of those.
Mm-hmm.
There's this 17,000 here, which is connected to 3 other tanks in the back.
Okay.
So it's the same water.
Yep.
There in my office, there's a 2,500 gallon that will be its own system. And there's a 900 gallon drop down coming. I don't know whether you've seen the video. It cracked literally in my driveway.
I did.
Yeah, you saw that beauty. That's going to go on this wall here.
Mm-hmm.
And that connects to a stump that's also a cube in my office. So that will be another system.
So I think I've counted 7 so far.
And then there's 4 in the quarantine room for coral.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are 2 250 gallon systems where we have coral. One of those are marine land, and that blew out. So we're only running one of those 250s now. But that's a separate system.
So I think that's like 13 systems right there.
Yeah, I think I counted that number once.
And do you
And
keep parameters?
that doesn't include the pond.
The ponds, okay, yeah, that's like another 14 basically. And do you guys like keep parameters in every single system? Like, what's your parameter checking routine?
Well, the good news is if I keep this mint, we do water changes from here into all the other systems. Just a matter of how many times a day, a week, and we still notice that on ICPs of those systems, if we don't dose, the trace elements are low, even after day 3 or day 4. But on other systems like those 250s, the 2500, they'll have all their own dosing stuff. So we're doing it a little bit both ways.
Yeah, it's really smart. So basically, for everyone who's listening, so on the big 17,000-gallon system, you're basically, when you do a water change, you're taking that water to change out all the other systems.
Most of them, yes.
Wow. And how many, like, do you do weekly
all
water
the
change?
quarantine systems in the back, the 4 quarantine tanks, the 5 quarantine systems, really, and even we'll do water changes into those 250s from this main tank.
Wow. And so how many gallons a week are you doing? Do you know on the 17,000? Is it weekly?
Yes, we do. I would say we flush the sand filter weekly, and that's probably 700 to $1,000.
Okay, every single week.
Then
So you
I
guys,
think all the other tanks combined that we take from this system, maybe it's another 500. And then every 2 or 3 weeks, we're blowing sulfur reactor, doing GFO, and there's another 500, 600, 700 gallons down the drain as we're doing that. So on average, I would say 2,000 gallons a week.
so like 8,000 gallons a month, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a heavy load. And then, so just so you know, a lot of people are asking questions. Guys, I'm not ignoring you on the questions. We're really going to ask all the questions at the end. I'm going to give at least like 20 to 30 minutes for questions. People are asking some really good ones. So Andrew, how do you keep the parameters? Like, do you follow like Reef Moonshiner's method, or like, how do you, like, yeah, I'm wondering for the 17,000 gallons is what I'm talking about.
So I would consider myself a shiner. We send out ICP testing once every 2 weeks max, and adjust our dailies accordingly. We just got some in today, and we made some adjustments to the dailies. But this is my best water, so I like using it in the quarantine room, the quarantine tanks, the coral quarantine tanks. I mean, I'm not freaked like I need to keep everything in a line at 5 like fauna, but 2s and 3s on vanadium, zinc, maybe a half on iron. Fluoride we keep 1.3, 1.4, and we add that weekly just to keep it even. We use a lot of GFO, which really sucks a lot of this stuff up, unfortunately. So we're dosing a lot.
So for the GFO, obviously, that's to regulate your PO4. Is it because, like, I know that tank is completely packed with fish? Do you think that it's the high phosphate is specifically from the amount of fish in there?
It's not high, but I mean, we use 10 buckets of roa at a time. I mean, the bucket kinds,
Yeah, like the 5-gallon bucket.
10 buckets of roa probably keeps our phosphate. It will lower it from like 0.12 to 0.07, 0.08, and then keep it at 0.1 for another 2-3 weeks before we need to change it.
So when you change it, right, like this is something that popped into my mind.
Two-man job between By the way, these aren't plastic screws. These are bolts that need to be drilled to open it up. Taking the stuff out is difficult. Sometimes it gets hard and it has to be, and then once it's all out, flushing it is sort of a disgusting job. And we just put it right down the drain and we use the tank water and until it's clear. And that could be another 500-600 gallons.
So do you notice, like, for example, if you don't change that out for 2 or 3 weeks, and then on the third week you change it out, like the PO4, like, does it just drop? Do you see any instability
it doesn't
there?
drop big because of the system water is amount. The worst I go from is like 0.13 to 0.08. That's my drop. I just don't get a big drop because of the amount of water.
Because it takes so long for the tank to cycle over?
Right.
Got it. So that actually makes it more stable in a sense.
Very stable. I've never like bleached the coral after GFO.
Okay.
We do wonder whether we took trace element levels right after a change versus like 3 weeks after a change. We think we see a difference there. That makes sense. But other than that, no, we don't really see anything on the GFO.
And how about like carbon, UV sterilizers? Do you run any of those type of things?
Yeah, both. So I run passive carbon in the sump into milk crates with water passing by them. I would call them massive bags. But passive. Water just passes through them. And then I use a reactor with, I don't know, 2.5 gallons, maybe a gallon, maybe 7 gallons of carbon. And what we like to do is rotate them and change them every 2 weeks so that there's fresh carbon in every 2 weeks. But really, at the end of the day, things are getting changed once a month. But
yeah. And how about your NO3? Do you know what's the NO3 in that 17,000?
yeah, it runs is whatever we want to run it because we have this huge sulfur reactor. And we've already taken out about 2/3 of the media because it was running too good. So now we have about 1/3 of the sulfur in there, and we're running about 2 gallons per minute through it. And it's keeping the nitrate right around 9.
9. Okay, that's a good number.
And it goes through, after that, it goes through another chamber full of aragonite. And both chambers get clogged up with gook, right? And we'll get like high alert on the sulfur reactor because it needs to be blown. And literally, not the blown that you know, but it's an air pressure thing. And it literally goes blah, 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 and it stirs up the sulfur and the aragonite, and all that stuff goes out the drain. And then we siphon it up afterwards, and then and it makes like fresh.
So what's like? I mean, I'm curious. Like, what's like the biggest challenge you have with such high water volume? Like, is it keeping the parameters? Is it like? I mean, obviously you mentioned it earlier, but like, what other like major problems or like challenges do you have with a big system?
This gassing issue is complicated only probably because it should have been done beforehand, and making real estate for it is not easy. So that's sort of a complicated thing. And then we've added so many different lights to the original. We had a original 9 or 10 fixtures. I think we're up to like 13 plus 8, 24. Plus 4. We're up to 28 fixtures in the tank.
Okay.
8 are halides.
Oh.
4 are the Orphic Amazonas 325 watts. And we have them in just violet. Made them special. And then we're running the Max Spec 500 commercials in different locations from the back to the forward and from the front to the back, some narrow lens down, some wide lenses to the back of the Reef, and we're just rotating. For the majority of the time, we run blues at 80, 85, and the whites 17, 18% kind of thing.
Nice. And do you run like all the other smaller systems? Are they run? I mean, they're not run similar, but like parameters wise, like are they all running kind of similar?
Well, three of them are attached, so it's the same water.
Mm-hmm.
And the other systems, we dose manually. Also, sort of a moonshiner thing. Maybe we use a little bit of Reef Trace and some other things, so we don't need all of the individual elements. We do that in the big system too. I use Reef Trace by Seachem as a base soup, but it's not enough, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
And most of my additions on a daily basis are 150 mils of nickel, 150 mils of magnesium, a couple of 100 mils of iron. That's basically what it runs. 150 vanadium. Then the smaller stuff like cobalt and chrome, more in the 80, 60 range a day.
And what salt are you guys using at the facility?
We are using a modified ESV salt, where ESV is delivering, or we're picking up the liquid part of the salt, and we use our own bulk sodium chloride and magnesium sulfate.
And
the way this works is pretty nice. Instead of using shovels or satchels, four sodium bags of 50 pounds and 1.25 magnesium Epsom salt bags of 50 pounds, and 1 part 1 and 2 part 2s from Bob ESV. That makes up 1,000 gallons. So,
wow, that's a pretty good formula.
So the tower tends to be 4,000 gallons. We have to do that 4 times.
So when the tower, what, your RODI storage container is 4,000?
They're 2,500 each, and the salt part is 5,000.
Okay. And where are those? Because I haven't seen any videos of those. Are those in your basement?
They're under the floor in the quarantine room, and they go down into the sub-basement.
Got it. Okay. And are you running calcium reactors or 2-part for the alk and the calcium?
Trick question, because I am melting aragonite from the sulfur reactor. The sulfur comes out roughly at 7.0, and it gets buffed back up to 8.0, and in that process, the arm stuff melts a little bit. So we actually took our calcium reactor. That is my calcium reactor. Second thing is we evaporate about 45 gallons a day.
Okay.
And we used about 1.5 cups of caulk in there and dose it 24/7.
Okay.
And then we use about 4,000 milliliters, that's about 1 gallon a day, of alk component part 1 only.
From ESV.
From ESV.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
And he makes it special for me with no sulfates, because there's no reason to rise sulfates, because I have that issue anyway with the sulfur reactor. So it's just called liquid carbonate bubble.
Yeah, so 4,000 gallons of alk per day.
4,000 mils. 4,000 mils.
4,000 mils. Yeah, which is 1 gallon. Yeah. So that's a lot. And then for the smaller systems, are you guys, is it 2-part or is it also calcium reactor for those, or? Because those aren't really SPS heavy, right?
Smaller systems, I'm using, on the 250s, I'm using caulk with a blend of part 1 and part 2, both. And the other ones really were just daily dosing 30 mils of part 1 and part 2 in twice a day, manually.
Okay. And so, like, man, that's so much going on there. Like, can I ask, like, how many, like, your staff, like, how many people are running this facility? Because, I mean, you guys are way over 20,000 gallons.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 30 if we include everything once everything's up and running.
Wow.
We are. I just counted. I think we're like 10 or 12 employees, but there's like 4 or 5 of those people are on the social media staff. So
Yeah.
maybe 6 or 7 to run the systems.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
And not
believe
all
it.
6 or 7 are not here every day. They have days off, and so I would say on average 4 people are here a day, including
Yep.
myself.
So are you actually there like on site most of the time as well?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know you have other, businesses and ventures, so I didn't know if you.
I'm crazy with that. I have to go up to my office. People people ask me questions about the fish, and I'm watching the market, and it's a little distracting.
I was gonna say, like, how do you manage it all? Like, what is your day like? Like, are you up at 5 a.m.? Are you a 7 a.m. guy? Like, I'm just
I'm
like,
a 7 a.m. guy. I'm down by 7:30. I'm watching the markets. I walk back to Yeltsin. Any problems this morning? No, no, no. And then literally from 8:30 to like 11, no one sees me. I'm working the hedge
yeah,
fund.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
I take a break for 5, 10 minutes, or Patty calls me over. Can we take some shots? And it's a nice break because 10, 15 minutes at a time. That's it.
Yep.
I
And
look
how
up.
about how about like at night? Like, do you go to sleep early, late? Like, what is your like night routine like?
I I like, because I'm in front of the tank all day. I like to be in my room at 5 o'clock, 5:30, and
Hmm.
not be downstairs in front of the tank. It's 8:42. The tank is. I set the tank for another hour to go off at 8 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. Um, but I'm usually not down here now.
Okay,
Lights are
got it.
down, and I'm upstairs with my wife.
Nice, nice. So it's not like 24/7. Like I mean, on your mind probably, but
You learn how to sleep well.
nice. So I know that you have the lab that you guys have created.
Yeah.
Are like what percentage of that is completed? Like what are the plans for that? Like I'm just curious. Like what do you got going on there?
So it keeps taking us a few steps back. The finishings are all basically done. The floor, the counters, and the desks, and all that stuff. The 4 quarantine tanks that we use they're done. We had two 250s in there as uh, SPS, really high end SPS. They were both Marine Lands. One finally got me. It blew out one Sunday morning. So the other one is running. And
Hmm.
the other acro that we were able to save, we probably lost 20% of the acro because we think the leak started maybe 2 hours before we got down there. The water was already 3/4 of the way down.
Hmm.
But we saved most of the coral. We put it in the clam tank. And so the clam tank looks like a jumble of clams and acros, but it's working, and it's the same water as this. So
Nice. Oh, it is. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Nice. So what's the plans for the lab? Like, are you guys going to start doing
So
experiments?
we're gonna redo both 250s. We're gonna get all marine lands out of there.
Mm.
So glass cages are building me those,
Hmm.
and they will be ready in the next 5 weeks.
Okay.
We got to rescape and redo and all that stuff. And then we have a cold water system that we're going to put in cold deep water
Oh,
amphias,
nice.
narcosis angels, 68 degrees type stuff
Hmm.
with cold water, deep water coral. And that was a marine land tank.
Oh.
So what we decided was out. And so
Oh.
Planet is building me a new one right now, and it's about another 3 foot higher than this
Okay.
one. So
Hmm.
it's going to be bigger and taller, which will make that deep cold water system even look better.
Nice. So
And the
what's going to happen when you run out of?
2,500 gallon is cycling, and all ready, except the sump is not ready. We're still getting the RDFs. We're doing rotary drum filters down there. We got to get some baffles down there. We got to connect the engines, and the computer guy is working on the all the code, essentially a duplicate of the program that I have on this big system.
Nice. And is there like a lot of room there for further expansion? Because I know obviously people run out of space eventually. Like, what are you going to do?
We have no. There's not a lot of room. I have a corner. I'll show you a corner that we're thinking about doing something in. Let me turn this
Well,
around.
I'm just wondering, because I know it's never done, right?
You
Like,
see
there's
that
always going
corner
to be
right
more.
there?
I sure do.
All right. Well, we're thinking about a discus Amazon, like half planted on top with no water, then below it with like planted and driftwood and beautiful discus. And the pond.
Mm-hmm.
The pond has been half the pond has been rebuilt outside, and now the other half is going to be rebuilt. So there's a lot of construction going on.
A lot in the works.
Yeah. And you know when a drop down comes and you think you got it, and then it's in the driveway and you realize that it's cracked and it's going to be another 6 months to get it up and going again. You know what you do? You work on something else. There's nothing else you can do.
Yeah. It's always a work in progress. So what do you guys? So I know also that you guys are obviously into a lot of charity stuff, right? Like, what are you guys up to in terms of charity? Like, are you guys working with different schools, or like, can you tell us a little about like kind of what the initiative is there?
So the mission is really there's two missions, and I don't think they're mutually exclusive. You could do both, although some people think no. One is to grow the hobby, and grow the hobby means to me educating people and putting out videos, and we have a series of quarantine videos coming out, hospital type videos, which drugs to use for which fish, pretty advanced stuff. We're going to have a vet come by once every 2 weeks and show what things look like under the microscope. Mm-hmm. Take gill samples, et cetera, inject fish. We're setting up 6 cubes, 60 gallons each in that lab, and we'll be running experiments. And the experiments range from curing head and lateral line with mud, with food, causing it with carbon. Maybe we can isolate which element really makes a difference. Run one tank with fluoride, one without fluoride. Lights, which lights grow coral better. And these 6 cubes, some will be attached and some won't be. So we have a lot of flexibility to play with matched water with different lights or different drugs. I would love to develop an in-tank treatment somehow. I mean, a real one for acropora eating flatworms. That would be a major goal of mine. What else are we thinking about doing experimental-wise? I mean, we're thinking about taking different samples of ICPs from the water column versus the sand bottom and seeing whether there's heavy metals fall to the bottom and are we, by taking ICPs right in the middle of the water column, is that the right answer? Those are some of the things sort of on the drawing board. Different medications for different diseases.
Yeah, no, there's so much that you guys can do.
Yeah.
So the resources in the space, and I think it really, the key is to expand the hobby, is to get more people into the hobby. I'm always wondering, like, how many people are actually in the hobby. I mean, I'm looking at these statistics, and it's like,
what do you show?
How many?
What, the numbers that I've seen is it's something like 1 to 2 million saltwater tanks worldwide, of which one is in the United States, but only a 25 or a third of them are reef.
So that's a good one, right? So I'm always trying to figure. I think there's like 700,000 people who might have saltwater fish tanks in the United States,
Yeah,
but I don't know if those are real numbers. And I'm always trying to figure out. Well,
I think
okay,
it might be a mill, but I
oh,
think the reef part may only be 300,000, 400,000, something like that.
that's still a lot, though. So 300,000 people with reef, and those people, though, then there's people that have reef, and then there's people that have fish
Yeah,
only.
the fish only is the balance, probably makes up the balance of the 1.5 million out there. But compared to the freshwater crowd, where
Oh,
you can put up a post of some discus and neon tetras and get 10x the views, it's a little disheartening.
oh yeah. So wait, how many people do you think have actual like saltwater reefs, would you say, in the United States?
Less than 400 to 500,000, less, maybe 300,000.
So okay, so let me ask you this question, right? Like this is completely like out there. So I always try to figure that out, right? And like I see like for example, bulk reef supply and worldwide corals, they have like, 100,000 subscribers each. So I'm wondering like is that how many people actually have saltwater tanks or are those just the people who are like shopping online for those products in a sense?
So there's a huge overlap. So they're not unique individuals. The same people on WWC are probably on BRS, and that
Of
probably is
course.
like a 50% match. And yeah, they're both fish only and reef people. And then there's the international crowd, which probably doubles that. So maybe you're at 700,000 if you include international.
So if you got 400,000 people, right, who are here, like why does BRS only have 100,000 followers? Is it because the 300,000 people are shopping at their local fish store only, you
Yeah,
think?
or they don't need the calcium carbonate and dosing stuff, right? And so they set up at their local fish store, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like the reason why I'm asking those questions is really like a self, like as a, company that like sells coral, it's like, well, how many boxes can we send a month? Like, we have like a 10x goal where we're like, all right, we want to do 1,000 a month. I mean, we're at like, 120 a month, which is like a lot for us, but like, can we get to 1,000? Can we get to
Well,
2,000? Like, who knows?
I'll tell you the difference. If you're selling coral or selling products, your market TAM, you need people with fish tanks. When I put out a video, it's a relaxation video. People just want to see the pretty fish. They want to see it on their TV screen. They want it in the hospital as a live stream. So my TAM, total addressable market, is significantly higher than a coral seller. And I think to really make a lot of money or to monetize this tank behind me
Yeah.
someday, you have to bust out of the hobby. If you're going to stay in the hobby, no way. It ain't going to
What,
happen.
what do you mean by that exactly? Like,
Like you're going to sell wallpapers and live stream relaxation videos on your TV screen. And,
mhm.
and anybody in the world buy those. People that just like to watch the digital art.
That makes sense. That does, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I was always wondering, like, I mean, do you think it's possible for like a company to send out like 2,000, 3,000 boxes a month? Like just straight coral, or is that just crazy?
2 to 3,000 boxes a month is,
That's
what
a
is that,
lot.
40, 50,000 boxes of corals a month, which is like what? Like what is that? 500,000 a year? Is that right?
And well, I'm saying like I'm saying like 2,000 customers per month buying coral online in a sense.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's 30. That's 40. That's 50,000 people, right?
Well, if it's 2,000 a month, it's 24,000 a year, basically. Well, yeah, 24,000. Like, Well, not if they're repeat buyers.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering.
that's the point. Is I don't
Yeah.
know what the repeat situation
Oh,
is.
I see.
No, but if you're dealing with several 100,000 people, no, that's not impossible to do. But you're competing with 30 other guys, so you got to take. They all have the same goals.
Yeah. That's true. It probably is like maybe 50,000 customers, right? When you look at
Yeah.
the non-repeat rate. That's a good
Right.
point, actually. Yeah,
Right.
that's a really good point. Yeah, I don't know. I was just wanted to pick your brain about that because you have like a very world-class knowledge of the hobby with all the stuff that you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's the hobby is I believe if you add up all of the groups, all the saltwater groups online,
Yeah.
with Sark being the biggest one,
Which one is the biggest one?
Saltwater Aquarium and Reef Keepers.
Yes.
Sark, my buddy
Yeah.
Shelly runs that group. I think she's at 130 or 140. If you add them all up, including Reef Tank for Dummies, the basic ones, basic intermediates, I think that number total is only 1 million people.
Wow.
It's 1 million people, and I would bet there'd be a 30 to 40% overlap.
Yeah. Because you guys like you pretty much exploded your Instagram. I mean, it went from like 10,000 to 100,000, and then now it's like 170,000. It's like wow.
Yeah, and I think that's 60 or 70% of people that don't even know anything about the hobby. They just want to watch the pretty fish devour a meal.
Yeah. And then like you see like the YouTube, that guy like 12G, he's got like over 1 million followers.
Okay,
I mean, it's pretty incredible.
He really does some work and travels all over the world and goes to the Nile River and like if you did that, you deserve that too. Okay, the reptile community is bigger still by about at least 5-10x. You got to get creative. I mean, Coral G gets creative, where he goes and what he does. I think at the end of the day, the YouTubers really have to do something special for you to hit that subscribe button. Okay? That subscribe button is like, people do not like to hit it and go to a different window. They want to stay in their comfortable place. And sometimes it asks for another Google thing. It's sort of a pain in the neck to subscribe. And they only want to subscribe if they want to see your weekly stuff. So that's a lot harder than getting an Instagram follower who just wants to see pretty fish.
Yep, agreed. And I did notice though, like when you just post a regular, beautiful fish, like you mentioned, like the screensaver stuff, like that gets 20, 30,000 views.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like you could do a reel and think it's the greatest thing ever, and then that people just want to see a feeding fest and see the fish and not the coral.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I noticed even with your wall, like some of those videos you're mentioning have like 50, 60,000 views.
Yeah. We've ever had one that has like white noise on it with no sound that made it into a few million.
Wow, that's a lot. So
I don't know.
Do you go for those type of videos just knowing that like, the viewership is
no idea. I have no idea. There was one video of Jonathan from Country Critters drilling a hole in my brick to vent the sulfur reactor. And he went up on a ladder to take a picture holding the drill. And the drill was like the diameter. We're talking about a diameter the size of, it's got to be 3 feet, okay? Mm-hmm. And he's not wearing goggles because he's taking a picture. He's not wearing his safety shoes. And, well, every mason, every brick guy in the world commented how dangerous it was. 34 million views.
Holy.
On a video that we weren't even sure we were posting.
Jesus. So it's just like, was that because of sharing, or the algorithms just picked it up?
Every do-it-yourself mason that ever drilled through brick told us that we weren't being safe. But it was a picture.
Oh my.
It was a
So the algorithms
pose.
must have served that to them.
Yeah, it was, whatever.
Crazy.
But the point is, what goes viral, and I almost can't tell. You think it's a great video and it does okay. You think it's an okay video, it does great. You show the same video of the fish eating nori and seafood and piled up, and it tends to do well on Insta.
Yeah.
Facebook wants a little bit more information, a little more sophisticated. The music's got to be a little older. TikTok, can't figure it out. No idea. Just think you need a bunch of girls dancing in tight, leggings.
I think, yeah. We're playing with TikTok, but we're not seeing the results. Like, I think they just want like cooking or whatever, like you said,
Yeah, it's difficult, TikTok.
But they might just be such a younger generation where they're not keeping reef tanks yet.
It is, and you can't educate on it. It's sort of got to be something funny. Someone falls in the tank, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I know a couple companies are trying to also, steer up some new people in the hobby, and I think they're coming out with, like all-in-one, like nano tanks to try to get like new people into the hobby, which I think is a really, really good idea. And it really, that's what it comes down to. It's like the lifeblood of any business, right? Or hobby is getting new people in. I did hear a statistic that, more and more people that are working from home are getting into the hobby, which I think is a cool one.
I think the two things that take people out, take them out. Velvet wipes out their fish. They don't quarantine, and within 2 weeks, every fish is dead, and they just can't do it again. Okay, so like that's a big deal. And the other thing is pests, whether it's the algae or flatworm. The pests eat their coral, and they can't handle it, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
The other part, getting your water chemistry right and your spectrum and your light and your flow, that's the easy part.
I think, believe it or not, this is a weird one, but I think a lot of like some people, they go too big too quick. And what I mean by that is like they might set up like, a 400 or 500 or 1,000 gallon tank, and they don't realize like what the maintenance of it is. And then they literally spend like, tens of thousands or, $50,000 on coral, and then it all dies. And like, they just get like, I've seen that.
I still meet people, Shane, that will buy the Red Sea Coral Pro because it's got an Alka 12, and I think they could just water change, when it gets to 8 and water change it back up. You know that doesn't work. The SPS, they're not going to handle that fluctuation.
No, we actually, we were using the Red Sea Pro for a while, and our alk would literally go. I like to keep alk low, like 7.2.
Yeah, us too. We're the 7.782 guy.
Yeah, the alk would literally go from 7.2 to like 8.5 once a week, and we said this is crazy. So now we use a 50-50 mix.
You use the blue or mix the blue with the other one.
We do a 50-50 mix.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Ultimately, though, I think we are going to go back to Tropic Marin Pro because I think that the alk is on par right there.
About
we were a little nervous, but
7 and a fraction, right?
Yeah. So we're definitely gonna probably go back to that. I think that's the right way to go.
All these salts, though, there is no perfect salt. Frankly, they all have some contaminants in them. The U.S. salts have lithium. Does it make a big deal? No, not at the level that it's at. A lot of them have excess iron and manganese that comes from the mines. That's the stuff that you see on the sides of your mixing vats. And manganese and iron, like if you do a big water change and your lights are blaring, there's chlorophyll properties in manganese that you could fry a coral out. So when we do water changes, We prefer to do them later in the evening when the lights aren't blasting. A lot of the European salts don't have that high lithium. They come from different mines and stuff like that. But then again, some of the European salts don't have enough trace elements or have low sulfates. I mean, so I can't find the perfect salt. So to me, the perfect salt is clean, simple, very low contaminants, and then you can fluff it up to the way you want it.
So like with ESP, you guys are basically making it the way you want.
We fluff our tower up to moonshiner's levels before the water change.
You buffer it up. So let me ask you, do you have like a favorite system now? Like I know the big system obviously is probably the favorite, but I see a lot of your smaller systems is where like the really high end corals are, like the acanthos and the all that. Like
same water, just 100 par light, very low light, and all reef safe fish, and just all connected. And I can't have that in here. The butterflies and angels would tear them apart.
So do you prefer looking at the big tank or the smaller ones with the high end corals? Your personal.
I think I'm going to prefer my office, which is the 2500, which will have both.
Because you can see everything right in front, right?
Yeah, I think my office tank will be my favorite. The mixed will be mixed reef. We'll have the lights we chose on those. We chose 5 Orphic Amazonas, 325 watts. The chipsets are cool white, warm white, blue, violet. And then we're putting on 2 400-watt radium metal halides on each side. And that is the lighting in that tank. Nice. And I love it.
Are you collecting like all types of corals now? Like, or is there like a specific thing? Because I've noticed that like you have certain collections of certain type. So like I don't know if you're just starting to collect mushrooms, but like I know you got one from us. Is there anything that you haven't collected yet?
Because of the leaks, and I'm replacing 2 250s, not 1 250, because I'm replacing all the marine lamps. We need place to store things temporarily. So basically, anything I'm buying now for the 2500 or the 900 drop down must be drop, or even the anemone tank in my office. We're doing a cube there. Must be drop dead gorgeous, and we'll keep it in the quarantine tank. Otherwise, I don't have the space for it yet.
Yep.
And until I see the flow, I mean, on the closed loops and the sand and I don't know whether I'm going to be able to keep rainbow chalices in. Will I have a shady spot? I mean, these are all things that we don't know yet.
So you can't tell. All right, so we've already been on for like an hour. It's just like time is literally flying by. I just want to ask you like one question, for all the new people on the call. I think it's really helpful, for them to kind of learn from someone like yourself who's experienced. Like, what would you say, like maybe 1, 2, or 3, like things that you had that went wrong, like maybe to help someone new to try to avoid something, like whether it's something as simple as like stray voltage, or whether it's something as simple as like overdosing, like just like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things that maybe went wrong for you that they can learn from to try to, help them avoid something.
I mean, I personally, I would use an ICP test at least once a month, and I would use a mass spec one so you can get real readings and not OES, okay? And the only one that I know that has that is Oshimo and Andre Mueller. And that's good trace elements that are undetectable, but they really are detectable. They just regular OES machines can't pick it up. So that would be one thing. The second thing, I think it's important to get the right lighting and flow. And the pests, you gotta keep the pests out. That means the acropora eating flatworm. I mean, until there's an in-tank treat. Look, it's easier to have bugs in your tank where you can intercept than it is to have a flatworm problem.
Agreed. Like white bugs, right? And red
Yeah,
bugs?
just take care of them with mibomycin and an interceptor. No problem. You could dose Cipro into a main system, but these flatworms are we've been weekly blowing the corals out, weekly. And we rotate between RO and salt. And the salt we put under more pressure from the hose.
Mm-hmm.
And the fresh water we tend to put on more of a sprinkle and let the fresh water seep into the coral, and the flatworms come off that way, and the fish eat them.
Yep. So I know it's like regular
once a week, and I think we don't see them anymore.
Oh wow, okay.
We don't see them.
You're basically grinding them out like every time you do a treatment, right?
Yeah.
Like I know with flatworms, like for some of the guys with smaller tanks, if you don't have a lot of coral, you could just like level the rocks, and then you can put the, cut them off the rocks and then put them on racks.
Yes, yeah, I can't do that. Yes.
Well, you can't do that.
No.
Yeah. So definitely, like for all you new guys, like I would even say like invest in a microscope, and any new frags coming in, put it under there looking for eggs and really educate yourself.
The eggs are the big deal, right? The eggs are the big deal. And unless you have a diver who's looking underneath every single piece of coral, you're not going to find every egg, which means you got to blow weekly, because the hatch rate on the eggs is something like 22 to 30 some odd days. And you can slow it down to 60 days, by the way, if you drop the temperature to 75 and give yourself a little bit more leeway blowing. But when those eggs hatch and they become little babies, you got to blow them off. And in the water column, the fish will eat them.
Yep. And are you guys importing? I don't know if you guys are or not. I mean, is that one of your things, or you're not really into that?
I'm importing stuff that you can't get, like crazy canthos, crazy chalices, stuff like that. But for the most part, I would say 75% or 80% of the aquas in this tank, in the big tank, are from other people's tanks, tank breakdowns, or mariculture.
Okay. So like you're not interested in like just taking in like 50 boxes from Indo just for fun and like bringing it in? I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Like, what's
No, not really. No, not at all.
Okay.
I'd rather let the coral flippers do that, and then I'll pick out 5.
You'll cherry pick from them. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Which is going to cost you a lot more, but at least.
We hope you're enjoying this episode. Thank you for listening to SBB Coral Reef Keeping Secrets Podcast. If you like the content, all we ask is for you to please share with your friends and comment, as that's the only way we can spread the word and grow this channel.
At least you don't have a whole vat. You don't have to deal with selling coral.
Yeah, exactly. You can pick exactly what you want. Yeah, cherry pick.
How you do it with the shipping and UPS and FedEx. I mean, that's the tracking. And if I can tell you how many times stuff came in 2 days late and ended up clam soup and stuff.
Yeah. No, it's a challenge. I mean, that's, one of our business practices, you got to become like an expert at shipping. We use oxygen, all that stuff.
I did not want to do that.
Cool. No, I was just wondering, like, even for your own collection. But yeah, no, it makes sense, because even with the guys over at Indo, like, it's hard to like say like, well, I want to cherry pick this, and that.
They won't let you do it, right? If you want to cherry pick, you got to take some bad shit too.
Exactly, because here's the reality of it is, like, although yes, you might do it once or twice, they got customers that are importing from them 12, 15 times a year, so they got to keep them happy with some of the good stuff. So you're right, you can't just pick all the best stuff. You cannot, man. All right, so listen, I'm gonna open it up for some questions.
Sure.
Some people had some really good questions. Some questions, they're going to ask. There's always a delay on the chat. So, Andrew, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go up and down on the chat, so that way you don't have to deal with the phone. You don't have to look for that stuff.
Okay.
Um, I'm going to just ask you the questions. Somebody started off with a pretty funny question. You don't have to answer this. It has nothing to do with reefing. K Alv asked, "What's your preferred drink? Alcohol, water? I don't know why they even asked that." Let me see when another question comes.
I'm not a big alcohol drinker, but when I do drink alcohol, I tend to drink tequila.
Okay. Okay.
And then
All right. Here comes it.
usually vomit in the bathroom from 5 in the morning till about 11.
All right. Here's the real first question. It's from J Lone 101, and they ask, "Why do you do water changes when you have reef moonshiners?"
Because I have to backwash the sand filter, the pressure builds up, and I have to get that muck out of there. So that's 700 gallons probably to really backwash that filter. Inside that sand filter is a bunch of glass beads. It's not sand. And it needs to be flushed out. That's a mechanical. Same reason. And then when I rinse my GFO, where am I putting that water? I'm not putting that black stuff in the tank. It's going down the drain. So I use tank water and then I refill the tank. Same thing for the water changes in the in the quarantine tanks. I'd rather use this water. There are 425-gallon systems there. So if we do 70% water changes with this water, that's 500 gallons. And instead of just using the normal ESV salt, we know that salt intimately, and then we will fluff it up in the tower to moonshine levels. That means I'm adding extra fluoride, I'm adding extra nickel, vanadium, I'm adding rubidium, and so the tower looks a lot more like my tank. So there's no fighting going on.
That was a good answer. Hopefully that answered him. So the next question comes from Nathan Y.L. James, and they ask, "How are the deep water fish?" I don't know if they're asking how deep are the deep water fish.
They're very good. They're doing great. They're in about 69, 68-degree water. Unfortunately, we had that cube cycled for them, and then we decided that marine land doesn't belong in our house. We don't trust it. So we're having a planet made much higher, like I said. And planet, they'll say 8 weeks, but it's really like 12, 14 weeks. And so they're going to be hanging out in my QT for probably through the summer.
Okay.
Until that display is up and running.
Okay, so you already actually do have those there now.
I have a good half of them, yeah.
Okay. And are you looking to acquire more as you get the other tank?
Yeah, if I see something really unusual.
Okay.
Like another peppermint angel.
Okay. And so do you import those or do you get those once they come in here?
I've had them both ways. I've had divers contact me. I've had live aquaria contact me. I've had offers to fund expeditions, all sorts of ways. I have not seen the fish. It's been at least 4 or 5 years that someone's gone after.
So you'll basically get it wherever you can. When you see it,
yes,
you'll get it.
Yes.
Okay. Here's the next question from Reef.exotico. They say, "Any luck on the peppermint shrimp eating the flatworm egg? Scientific name for them? Thanks."
Elvatata, definitely eat them. We keep them in some of our systems. The problem is where we keep them, we don't feed a lot of fish. There's not a lot of fish there. So I don't know how the scale works. Like, if I get 150 in a 300-gallon tank and we're not really feeding that tank that much, now all of a sudden I have a 150-gallon tank with a lot of fish. We don't know whether they'll feed on the eggs or the excess food, or the fish will pick them off one by one. I mean, certainly that will happen if you have triggers or hawkfish. So we think look, you can put them in. They're about $30, $40 of a peppermint shrimp landed. It's not your regular Florida peppermint shrimp. They're clear, they're little, you'll never see them unless you look for them, and we think they're better off in a quarantine system. Like, you're going to put a coral in there, you can let them go to town on the coral, especially if you suspect eggs. Dip, put them in there.
That makes
I do
sense.
not know the scale at which how many $40 peppermint shrimp I would need in this 17,000 gallon tank.
A lot.
A lot.
17,000 of them.
Right. Maybe more.
Oh man, you'd be like at night you'd be with a flashlight just looking at all of them.
I know.
Oh,
Some people will say blue-legged hermits will also eat the eggs. Some will even say the Florida regular cheap peppermint shrimp will eat the eggs, but they would much rather eat like Aptasia, bubble algae. They'd rather eat other stuff. But yeah, if you don't feed them, they'll probably eat the eggs too.
yeah.
But who doesn't feed their tank? That's the problem.
Exactly. Here's the next question. This is a pretty good one. I mean, I struggle with this one myself, so I would love to hear how you kind of manage this. The question is from sorry if I butcher the name, but it's How Blee Weiss.
Hal Bly
How do you?
Weiss.
Yes.
He's my
How?
admin.
Oh,
He's
he is.
He is Mr. Meta. He
Okay.
keeps me out of trouble on Facebook.
So this is a legit question then.
Yes, it is.
I'm surprised he didn't ask you this personally. Here it goes.
All
He
right.
says, how do you make sure you still enjoy the hobby even when it is so time consuming and risky? What is your best advice for everyone else to make sure they never stop enjoying it?
A good script of Klonopin or Xanax. None. I mean, look, it really depends on your age. You know, as you're younger, you can multitask a lot better. You can run a business. You can take care of a tank. In fact, the distraction is like good for you. It takes your mind off whatever and refreshes. But if you're the kind of person that like needs to go to Florida and live 6 months a year down there and not going to take care of your tank, it ain't going to happen. So the answer is it's really lifestyle and how much you want to give to it versus other things, and trying to have some balance. Like I said, I like to go up and be with my wife at 5 o'clock. Some people swear they would sleep down here. I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, I mean,
And I have staff. When we go away on the weekends, I have a lake house. We go fishing, and I have all the guys here. The staff are here, and I'm watching the tank on the computer. And there's nothing to do. I'm enjoying myself.
yeah. No, that's good. I mean, I can kind of answer that question too. I mean, even for me, like I also have another full-time job, and I have 2 employees now for the business, and it's like, without those guys, like I'd be toast. I mean, it's hard. I think
Yeah.
also your significant other can play a big role in this too. I think a lot of, people really like, they literally like get addicted to their tank. It's like a drug, right? It's like
Yeah.
almost like this crazy addiction.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I think I got it going on the koi side now.
oh yeah.
It's like a whole new sport.
Oh my God. So now you're starting to collect the
High-end
cool.
koi from Japan. We're actually going to be competing in a couple of the shows. We're going to go to the Vegas show. We were thinking about going to Orlando. It's like a dog show for fish.
So would you bring those like
Yeah.
on a plane to bring them down?
You do. You do.
And do those fish also get kept outside in the pond, or is that like you keep the good ones inside?
They're in a tent right now, but when it gets nice out, they'll be in a pond.
Wow. Okay, so you're high end collecting on those too. All right, here goes the next question from K_ALV. Comparing the results between doing water changes and moonshiner method, can you tell? Sorry, can you tell if it's worth getting into the reef? Basically, they're saying is, can you let me know if it's worth doing water changes or it makes more sense to do Reef Moonshiner's method?
Listen, they're not mutually exclusive. Okay? There's a lot of people that believe in water changes from uh, organic compounds to other things that get removed. What you don't want to do is fight. So you don't want to have a moonshiner level and then do a water change and have all your levels go down. So if you get intimate with your salt, and I mean intimate, send a couple of ICP samples to your salt only and know how much you need to fluff up so that it equals your tank water. Then a water change it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's fine. Your levels aren't going to change at all.
I actually always say the same thing, that you got to literally get intimate. You got to
Know
know
your
your salt.
salt.
Big time. And one thing, the person who asked that question with the Reef Moonshiners, I do think it's important to study up on the Reef Moonshiner method, because you will learn. He will teach you. He has a manual that's for free on his website.
Yeah.
And if you read it, you will learn about all the trace elements. You'll learn about all the minor elements, so you're aware at least of them.
So I did a video 2 weeks ago on my YouTube by I interviewed Christoph Denk, who is the owner of Oshimo, and we went through every element and where he wants it to be kept and why.
Is that
And you should watch that video.
is it
People
posted?
should
It's
watch that
posted.
video. It's 45 minutes long, but it's probably the most informative video I've done.
Okay, and that's on your YouTube
It's
channel,
on my
right?
YouTube channel.
Okay, so YouTube
It's
at
called
Polo Reef.
Hidden Trace Elements or something.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, all you guys check that out. Obviously check out his channel, Polo Reef, on YouTube.
And by the way, Andre, the moonshiner, really trusts this Christoph very much. So he's a spokesman for Andre.
So definitely check
Yeah.
that out. And back to that question, like, water changes are important, but I think more importantly is to be intimate with your salt and to know all the elements in the Reef Moonshiner. So that way
And
you
know
can.
where your salt is weak. Okay? If your salt is weak in fluoride, you know every time you do a water change, you're going to have to add fluoride to that fluff.
Correct. Like,
Some
for example,
salts
that,
are really high in manganese, and you
or
may not want
low,
to dose manganese the day or two after a water
or
change.
low, like the Red Sea is ridiculously low in magnesium, sorry.
Right. I'm talking about manganese.
Okay, yes, yes, yes.
Manganese. And so these are just little tricks that, by the way, GFO sucks the living, you know what, out of these trace elements. So we get different results depending on how old the GFO is. So you should be intimate with that also. No, some people will dose 50% more when their GFO is new and then drop back down as the GFO ages to 2 weeks.
So this goes back to knowing your salt, guys. So whatever salt you're using, it makes sense to send it an ICP just to
And
know your salt.
then fluff it up the way you think it should be fluffed up, and then send that in.
It's a good point. So it's like a hybrid, like Reef Moonshiner's method, really.
Correct.
All right, next question comes in from Tommy P. He says, I need a new Polo Reef hat. Will you be making snapbacks soon?
Yes. Polo Reef hats we give away all the time.
Okay. He says he wants some SBB hats too. Those are also in the works.
Okay.
Captain Rich Colombo, Andrew, you've been keeping many tanks. Can you say unequivocally that ICP trace dosing makes much of a difference over the old ways of halide and heavy stock feeding, considering the SPS color and growth, particularly?
Yes, I can, but if you said to me it was just the fluoride, or it was just the iodine, or it was just like I don't know which is the most important. Okay, it's just based on observation. Fauna Marine has a farm. He's developed a method. He likes to keep his like more like 4 or 5 each instead of twos. Um, Go find a real moonshiner who's unhappy with their corals. It's not very many.
I don't
Most
think it's any.
really like what they see. Do I know whether it matters whether your vanadium is a half or 1.5? I don't know. It probably just has to be bioavailable, but stability in the trace elements is very important.
I agree with that as well. So there's so many questions, so I'm just going to start breezing through them. The next question comes from, sorry about the name, but it's Holla at Your Reef Boy. Holla at Your Reef Boy says, um, first off, amazing tanks that you have, Andrew. The world definitely needs to know more about your tanks. On that note, what is your favorite fish or top 3 in your tank?
Whatever I can't get anymore.
Such as?
Like, if a Hawaii fish dies, that bums me out. Okay? Because you can't get them anymore, or it's difficult to get. The one of a kinds, the ones that you can just order up again and get some more Amphius, like that doesn't bother me as much.
How about the like those tangs, like those white and black tangs? You have those, right?
Yeah, so the problem with those, and I'm gonna have I think I did a video or something in my group that shows how different the colorations become and how they can either revert back to the original or dark. And we don't know why. We suspect it's diet. We suspect it's some kind of protein or enzyme that they're eating wherever they. Actually, most of these fish, the koi tangs and the Jurassic Park wild things, they come from a part in the Maldives. So there must be some food source there that does that to them. And I've had them go white tangs go completely yellow. I've had yellows go back half white. I've had that sailfin Picasso tang, which looked like it was mostly white with half black. It's gone all black, basically, Desjardins again. We experiment with different veggies versus proteins. I'm not sure I see a difference. So I don't think anybody knows. I just know some hold their color and some don't, and it's a big risk. And if you're paying big money, you got a 50 or 60% chance at least of it reverting back.
There was actually some controversy. I mean, I'm not going to mention names, whatever, but people were messaging me because the fish is between $10,000 and $15,000, as you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
and they were concerned because the original picture that they saw of the fish, once they got the fish, it already had changed color. So there was some controversy over was that even the right fish. So it was an interesting one, but yeah, I'm sure you've dealt with that.
I would say they're not great investments. The hybrid ones from Biota, the Yerples, they have that new one, the Gem and a Scopus. Those will probably hold because those are real true hybrids. I think the other ones are some sort of environmental stuff that they're eating or not eating in the wild. And you put them in a tank and you can't give them that food or lack of enzyme.
So basically, stay away from those.
Some of them you could swear will not change color by the jagged lines, the whatever, and yet it still happens.
Still happens. Yeah, it's interesting. All right, so the next question comes from uh, Thesa Monster. They ask, what are your ideal parameters for SPS tanks?
Point 0.1 nitrate, 0.1 phosphate, nitrate at 10, normal salinity 26, alkalinity 8 plus or minus 0.2. What am I forgetting? Magnesium 1350 to 1400, calcium 425, potassium 405, 410, boron, above 4.5, closer to 5. There's a bunch of really trace elements like iodine probably should be 50 to 70. Then there's tiny stuff like chrome and cobalt if you want to play with it. Selenium. These are all 0.2s and 0.1 type of numbers. In terms of other big ones, I'm trying to think of whether I'm forgetting any big ones. I don't know. What am I forgetting?
I think you covered most of them.
Yeah.
The most important ones. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna keep going.
By the way, there are plenty of people that keep the acros and LPS healthy at phosphate 0.2 and a little higher nitrate, and they seem to grow great. So years ago, we were told if anything over 0.2 phosphate, your coral skeleton wasn't going to grow. That's a bunch of hoax. That's a bunch of BS. In fact, the LPS like it better with a little more nutrients, and the corals can adapt just fine.
Yep. So I'm gonna keep going. Her Nano Reef says Andrew spilling all them secrets.
Her Nano Reef is setting me up a beautiful anemone tank.
Nice. We're gonna see that.
Yeah, it's going to be lit with a metal halide and 2 radions as supplements.
And what type of anemones will you have in there? Have you picked one yet, or?
We found one beautiful carpet for the bottom, and the rest will probably be some combination of ritterite, bubbles, and Colorado type stuff.
The carpet one, is that the one you posted today? The yellow and pink one?
Yellow and blue. Yellow and blue.
I heard you got to be careful because they sting you bad and they eat fish. Is that true?
Yeah, but I'm just going to do clownfish.
Oh, okay.
So they'll be fun. This will be a clown harem tank.
I guess you got to be careful handling that though.
My hands don't. My hands stopped going in tanks years ago, and on ladders. I don't break my backs anymore. You see what happened to Joe Aulo's hands? Do you know about that?
What happened?
Polo got like a mycobacteria infection in his hand and had to go on like triple antibiotics for like lung tuberculosis, and then they had to operate on the hand to clear the infection. And he has a Frankenstein scar literally down his wrists, down his fingers.
Oh, what was that from? Was that just like an allergic reaction, or?
Oh, he tapped something. Mycobacteria. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know exactly what he hit, but it's not so fun to get an infection in your hand.
No. Sometimes our fingers like disintegrate. Like you can see the tip of my finger is like.
The minute I feel something, I take Doxy and Benadryl.
Yeah.
And if it still swells after that, you got to go in.
You got to go in.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got. There's a couple more questions coming in. Let me see here. I'm just going through. Some really good questions came in already. Let's see. Or maybe I'm happy with it. I'm going through them all.
Shane, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, man.
What became of the mushroom fantasy versus acro? Like, it looks like you've changed a little bit. Why?
It's not that I've really changed. I think it's like I'm like a collector, right? So like I get bit by the acro and all. Like originally when I first got into the hobby, I was actually known for zoos. So like a lot of the name zoos, like the GMK was one I was a part of, like the Marvin the Marvin the Martian. Like there were so many names those that I put out there, and then I all of a sudden started collecting acros, and then I got all the acros, and then I started collecting Ganis, so I got all the Ganis, and then the torches, and then I found like a really good supplier of mushrooms, and so now I'm like sucking them dry of like all those jumbo mushrooms. So now that's a kick I'm on. So I just keep getting bit by the next thing.
I find sometimes my water is too clean for the mushrooms. Like the phosphate and nutrients. They really prefer a nice dirty sump.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I keep like just like you. I mean, I keep my PO, all the regular stuff. I mean, NO3 like 25, PO 4.1.
Right.
I think mushrooms are susceptible to a lot of
They are.
disease. Maybe.
They are. They are.
Yeah.
They are. They are.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what other questions. Um, Thank you for that question, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Let's see
So you're just
here.
going around the horn. What's next? What's next after mushrooms?
I don't know yet. I haven't gotten bit by that yet, or else I'd be collecting them. I think I've pretty much collected everything. I mean, I haven't really got into meat corals yet.
Oh, oh,
I
that's that's an addiction. I mean, they actually have a group. I'm addicted to acanthophilia.
I just saw that pop up like in January,
Oh,
right?
it's real. It's a real addiction, and yeah, you can just lay them on top of each other. They're gorgeous. I can't wait to do it in my 2500. I love
I,
them.
I saw you have that one tank. You have probably like 10 like really nice collector
Beautiful.
ones.
And Ben just sent me another 6
Yeah.
today that are fluffing up.
I saw
Um,
the one that he was raffling off. It was beautiful, the one that
yeah,
he had.
yeah, yeah.
So you got bit by that bug too.
I did, and the koi bug.
So what? Okay, let me see what other questions come in. You feel free to ask me questions too. Are you ever going to have? Oh, I mean, this one is. Are you ever going to have a public tour of the 17,000 gallon?
What does that mean, public? Like it's a house. I'm not going to monetize like an aquarium and charge admission. Okay,
I would say no.
no. So the answer is no. So
Yeah.
comes over. I get visits by hobbyists and friends and people that are out of town. They come from out of town that I know from online. They stop over, or there's a show in town and they want to come see it on Worldwide Corals. The one in New Jersey. So on Sundays they usually come over, and I would say I have 2 visitors a week.
Yeah. I mean, open to the public is tough, guys, because now you're talking about liability. You're talking about
Yeah.
people in your home. Like,
Now I have a
you're not set
school
up like
coming.
that.
I have a school coming with 34 in a few weeks, and I got to be careful. Now these are high school students in the marine biology, but I'm not. I got to be careful taking them down in the sub basement in subgroups and so forth.
Yeah. I
Buy
mean,
a lot and buy a lot of pizza.
like I'll tell you guys, like even my facility, like we're not open to the public. I mean, people come all the time. They say, "Hey, can we stop by?" I'm like, "We're not open to the public." I mean, what are we
Yeah, I know.
All right, one question from Chris Jimenez. Do you use an algae scrubber?
No, I use the sulfur reactor instead, and GFO. And how do I feel about algae scrubbers? I guess if you get one big enough, several in a line, and usually they do better in either nitrate or phosphate and not both. But what bothers me is all the scrubbing and the algae you got to scrape off, and you only got to do one side, because if you do both sides of the screen, your nutrients then rise and go up again until the algae grows again, and then I just know for a fact that the algae, just like the GFO, sucks the hell out of trace elements, particularly potassium, iron, iodine, and barium. And that goes for Cheeto and any of this stuff. I know they try to give you those drops to put in your tank, trace element drops. to make up for that loss. I just think unless you do an ICP, you don't know. Every tank is different. The spores are different. The sulfur reactor does an amazing job with nitrates. The problem is sulfates build from the sulfuric acid. And every month or two, my sulfates will go from normal 2,700 to a little over 3,000, 3,200. And we start to see coral color differences, maybe an STN or a bleach out. And there's no way of reducing sulfates except for water changes. Now, do the math. To go from 3,200 to 2,700, you'd have to change like 2/3 of the tank, okay? Because the normal salt water is like 2,600. So what we do is ESV makes us a sulfate-free magnesium chloride, and we do not make salt water with the magnesium sulfate. And if you do it that way, a 10 or 15% water change, I can knock my sulfates from 3,200 to 2,600 in just 2,000 gallons.
Wow.
And we do that once a month, once every 2 months. And then the other problem with sulfur reactor is that mum that builds, and you got to blow it, you got to clean it. It's something that's really not maintenance free. I would never recommend it on a small tank.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's a few more questions. You do realize that every time you answer the question really long, we get like five more questions coming in the back end.
Sure.
I'm just warning you. No, but we do appreciate those the longer answers. All right, here comes one from again, Visa Monster says, now that Fiji is open, are you looking for anything specific from Fiji?
At the moment, I've been showing some fish, but I haven't really seen the coral yet. I just haven't seen it. I have seen some beautiful coral from Solomon Islands that it's open recently. So, but look, in the days, I don't know if you guys remember this reefer madness, where you used to bid on huge pieces of coral. All those corals came from Walt's facility in Fiji, and they were beautiful. So I got to believe that it's going to be stunning.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything from Fiji yet. For me, nothing sparks my interest over there. I probably just am not knowledgeable about it yet.
Yeah.
Hernando Reef says, SBB, you got to start collecting anemas. I can get those. I mean, the ones that you got from Derek, like I just haven't, because I know they'll sting the crap out of you. So I've been warned to stay away, but they're out there. We'll see and then the other thing with the anemas is there's some, rumor that if you put multiple like anemones together, they could fight. So I'm like limited on
Pat. Yeah, we know all about that, and we're gonna try to avoid that. Yeah, the Black Widows versus the Colorados, they don't love each other, blah, 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 blah.
I do have like 5 different systems, and I have like 4 different type of NEMs. So like I can get like maybe one more. There's a new one out there called the Lucky Charms. I don't know if you've seen that one yet.
But I assume it's green like a leprechaun?
Exactly. Right. It is. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let me see what else people are coming in. Schools visited. Someone said that the schools obviously have come to visit you.
They come all the time, and we have a big one coming soon.
Nice.
They're coming from Iowa. Oh. I don't know what trip like how they get in here, but they're coming from Iowa. It's a real like a vocational school that has marine science.
That's like a whole nother conversation that I want to have with you, but we'll save that because we're literally running into the 2-hour mark, man. I just can't believe, and I thank you so much. So one person, I don't know, again, my butchering of the names, I'm sorry, but it's Chele Flores.
Chele is the other admin.
I had a feeling.
She runs. She's the most powerful woman that no one knows in the reef industry. She runs the group SARC, which is the biggest group around, and and probably runs another 100,000 of other people's groups.
So I don't know why, but like when she asked this question, like I kind of knew there was some connection between you
Yeah,
guys.
she works
Her.
for us. She helps us out a lot.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, here's her comment. I mean, her comment is, "Thanks everyone for the amazing questions. I love to hear Andrew speak with such passion."
Thank you, Shelley.
So
Thank you.
that's awesome. All right. Let me see what other questions are coming in, and I don't know if that's the end of the questions. Let me check. Oh, here's another one. Um, Hornchin_Steve says, "Are you sending ICPs to both Fauna Marine and Okemo?"
Yes.
Okay. So you're sending two different kinds out? Are they both the MS tests or?
No. Fauna is an OES, and Oshimo is the MS. And I think I understand the fingerprints on both of those tests to know what to. If something comes back not detectable, I don't worry about it on Fauna because I know I'll get it on Oshimo. But for the major elements and what I need and stuff like that, Fauna is very good, and they get the results back fast.
So let me ask you, so the MS test obviously can test much more accurate. Like, why would you still see the need to send in an OES, the other test in a sense, when you have such accuracy with an MS?
Because I can lean in a direction before I get the other test back. I could probably get that Fauna test back twice or three times as fast as the Oshimo one. The
Because
Oshimo test goes to Austria, but first it goes to Texas. I mean, it just takes a long time. And let's say OES will do fine on certain things. So if I see something low on OES, I know it's low.
okay. So you do the other one for speed and then the other one for accuracy.
Exactly.
Okay. The Coralito is going to ask a question. He asked a different question before. I'll ask that other question because I was curious. But before we go to the Coralito, K_ALV asks, would you change this hobby for a different one?
My own.
I didn't know if you heard me or not.
The only thing I wish was maybe my bankers included this on my balance sheet. Otherwise, no.
But it's a write-off, though, right?
Write off. It's just bleed. It's like you create something of the most beautiful creation in the world, and maybe gets more valuable over time because what's happening to our coral reef. But at the end of the day, the money drain is also unbelievable. So they're both Simon. They're both true.
Yeah, especially for you because you're not really selling coral
Correct.
to keep up with
So
your,
the only way
you
I
know.
could monetize that write-off would be YouTube revenues, advertising revenues, sponsorships, selling wallpaper, selling relaxation videos, getting enough YouTube subscribers. That's a lot. I think you need in the millions to start really making numbers.
Yeah.
So you got to bust out of the hobby. If you think you're going to monetize a tank like I have and stay in the hobby, it ain't going to happen. Unless you want to cut frags and track UPS things.
Which is what we do.
I don't want to do it because
Yeah.
I missed one trade and that's a bad deal.
Exactly.
Over $100 piece of
Oh,
coral.
yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, for you, obviously, you're working with different margins. So it's
Right.
like, you're. All right. So here comes a question from the Coralito. I'm going to ask his original question, and I know you answered this in another video, so I don't think you're uncomfortable with it, but if you can just pass. His
Sure.
original question was, how much does it cost? I think he asked, like, how much is your electric bill or
Oh,
something?
that's I give those numbers out. That's so. First of all, we have two 800 amp services. So we have 2 meters, 1600 amps. One of the 800 amps is just for the tanks, and that runs 10 to 12 to 14,000 a month.
Okay.
And then the rest of the house, another 4 or 5.
Got it. Okay, that doesn't seem too bad,
No,
honestly,
but
for all the
then
equipment.
again, I have a few tanks still that yet to go up.
It's true. All right, now here's the question that Coralito wanted to ask now. And I'm not. I know Coralito won the trip over to
Yeah,
your.
when is he coming?
I don't know, but I know he's gonna put some really good footage out. I just saw the video that he did. There's like a new
Yeah,
tool that is
yeah,
like a grabber.
the squiggly.
Yeah. Shout out to Squiggly. It was a the video
The
was
video
really
was
clever.
nice. It had some nice sounds in it. Yes, it was a
Yeah,
nice video.
it was a good video. So here's his question though: is if you could only keep one coral, what would it be?
Holy shit.
You can't ask that question.
Like, does an acro count as a coral, or I have to pick the acro?
I think like a species. I think is
Oh,
safe.
jeez. I God. I'm a sucker for like I'm an OG guy. I love Oregon torts. You know, um, man, I don't know if I can answer that question.
I can't. I wouldn't be able to answer that
I'm
question.
not sure. The hardest part to me is these mixed reef tanks where somehow on top we're supposed to get 300-400 par for the acros, and at the bottom we're supposed to find some shady spot or whatever that's 60-80 par for the rainbow chalices, because I love them, and it's very, very difficult to that spread in a tank. And a lot of people bleach out their rainbow chalices because they got them under 120, 140, and they don't like them there. I mean, they look great for a while, and then after a while, done.
Oh man, yeah, that's a tough question. Like I would pass on that. I mean, I don't know. It depends on like what bug I'm being bitten by. I mean, right now, like you see, it's the mushrooms,
Right.
but yeah, it's a tough one. All right, so some more love from Chelly
Yep.
Flores. Love our team to Patty, Hal,
Yep.
JC. She's thanking the whole team. So
Yep.
big shout out over
Yep.
there.
I love
This
you guys too.
this next question from Reef Exotico. Will Polo Reef be at Reef Stock? I wish Andrew could have seen Jake's studio in his pinnacle.
Me too. You know, I bought some of that coral from the vats to help Windsor out. We are not going this year, not because I don't love Raj and Reef Builders and that whole team, but getting to Denver is a little bit of a PIA, particularly in the wintertime. Half the time you don't get in and whatever. And I was asked to speak at the Connecticut Frag Swap. And that's a 1 day, 3 hour, easy peasy deal. So that's what
Which
we're
frag swap?
doing. Just because we have so much traveling to do. I mean, I'm going to the Vegas Koi Show to
Well, you're hooked
compete.
on coins. We know that. I mean,
I'm going to compete in the Vegas Koi Show, and I've never been to it. I mean, it's like a dog show. They set up tanks and.
uh-oh. We lost him. Can you guys still hear me? Hopefully you can. There's still so many questions that are unanswered. We'll probably drop off at some point and come back in. I mean, we are running 2 hours in. Oh, he dropped off. All right, let's see when he comes back in, because I still have a bunch of questions queued up. All right, you can still hear me, but let me see when he's gonna come back in. Maybe his cell phone died. Let's see here. Let's see when he comes back in. Let's see if he comes back in. Hopefully he does. Okay, yeah, you guys hear me? Drew is stalled. Let's see here. See if he comes back in. I don't know if one of you guys maybe want to call him. I know you guys got him on the cell phone. Patty, Kelly. Let's see here. Give it a few more minutes, and we'll see if he pops back in. Let's see. I mean, I know we've been on for 2 hours, so the phone might have died. You guys can still hear me, right? Okay, yeah. Oh, Polar Reef and two others sent you. So let me get him back in here. Here he is. I just invited him back in. Let's see if he comes back. Andrew, so I did see. There you are.
Yes,
You're back.
I plugged in.
Awesome. We got worried. So I have a few more questions.
Sure.
One of them, yeah, yeah. And if you got to go soon, let us know. I mean, we're running on 2 hours, so I'm probably gonna. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, we're running on 2 hours, so like, if you got to run soon, you'll let us
No,
know.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. All right. So one question I want to ask this because it's from Greg Carroll, who is a really, really good dude.
Yep.
So let's just see what he said. I'm going back right now. I'm so glad. Okay. So Greg Carroll asked, has Andrew ever used ICP analysis? They are in the US and use ICP-MS.
I know they have an MS machine. I have not used them yet for some various reasons. Some weird things were coming back. But when they get their shit together, I have no problem.
Question for you. Are you in a different room right now than you were
No,
before?
I'm just hooked up to a wire.
Okay. Because actually, the reception is a
Oh, is
lot
that
clearer right now.
all right? All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So just for your future reference, the voice and the reception is a lot clearer.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Um. So I'm not even going to skip that one. Um. Let's see here. They're just talking about like the different. Andre said maybe don't use that test because they're not accurate, but
Yeah,
I'll let you
that's
guys.
that's that's the issue.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let them in the battle it out in the chat about that one. Hernando Reef says Polo Reef will be at Rap Orlando to answer those questions to see you guys.
Yeah, yeah, we're speaking there, and we will be there.
Awesome. Yeah. Unfortunately, guys, I can't make it because it's literally my son's first birthday, and I can't even tell you how much in trouble I would get.
Right.
um, um, so
But
Anon from Collector.
before Rap Orlando, there's actually a koi show in Orlando also, which we're going to, but not competing, just to go walk incognito, Patty and I, no cameras, shake some hands, meet some people before we do the Vegas koi show. Plus,
Because you got to learn,
plus
right?
the koi that's competing won't be ready. That's the beginning of the March, and it needs some time. It's just coming from Japan now.
So, but you're obviously going to go to study the trade and to see kind of how it's run, right, over there.
Exactly. That's what I'm doing.
Nice, nice. So Anon from Collector Corals asks Andrew, "What's your most favorite fish?"
Jeez, it's the one you can't get anymore.
People.
It's the like I was looking at my tank now. Like what would really kill me if I
Don't even say it because then we'll we'll just skip that question. That's almost as hard as asking like what's your favorite like type
yeah
of coral.
it's really a function of whether it's available or not. If you lose something that you can't get again, it hurts more than if it's available.
I agree.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean we all want what we can't have. I mean, so obviously.
That's the way
Yep.
it goes.
So this is going to be a good person. Ultimate Construction Company of LI Inc. says, "Miss you, Andrew. I'll stop by soon to chit chat."
Okay.
Another good guy. We know who he is.
Yep.
Let's see. Any more questions? And I'm just breezing through. The Coralito swears it's Acropora. Yes. Okay, perfect. Kois are out. I'm just going through here. So K underscore Alvarez or ALV says, I
Yep.
love how passionate he is about koi fish. Remind me when I was young and I was into discus fish.
Yeah. Yeah. So the koi people are different than the freshwater discus people. So it's not like I can do a freshwater. Like you have to be a koi guy and a koi person. That's a different crowd than your discus and tetra people. So if Polo Reef had a freshwater division, I'd have to break it into two. I'd have to do a koi and a Amazon, whatever. Different set of people, different hobby. It's like ice skating and roller skating.
It's like basically getting a saltwater tank but no reef, kind of,
Uh,
maybe.
no, because some of those live planted discus tanks with Amazon, and like a beautiful planted tank. That's they can be spectacular, right?
So it's like skiing or snowboarding.
Like that. I think that's a good analogy.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna keep going with the questions. So the Coralito says Andrew is so kind. That was just a comment from the
Thank you.
Coralito.
Thank you,
Um,
Corlito.
Let me see here. Yay, rap Orlando. That's from Telly. Orlando's warm, of course. I will be. I'm just showing Polo is anything but incognito. Um, let's see here. I don't know. I think not. You guys know when I'm don't like. Once I get to the end of this, like that's the last question, right? Because we said we're gonna answer them all, but once I get to the end, we will not take any more questions. So I'm almost to the end. So if anyone wants to sneak something in there, now I'm at the end. I'm at the end of the questions, man. All right, so we are going to. I have a few closing questions, and this has definitely by far been one of my favorite calls, interviews, podcasts. I mean, we're over 2 hours, so that clearly shows how much I love the call. So I have just like two more like ending questions, and they're really like kind of the first one. I'm gonna like leave it to you, and I'm gonna ask you like, is there anything else you want to add or comment on, or something that we might have missed that you want to throw out there for everyone? Anything, whatever it might be.
I'm just gonna say that the amount of content in this house between another pond being rebuilt, the cold water system, the 2500s, the 900 drop down, and the anemone tank should quadruple or quintuple. And we're working on it all at the same time as we're trying to degas the 17,000. So stay tuned. A lot more stuff's coming. Doesn't happen overnight. I don't have I have a staff, but subject to getting stuff and their working hours. So that's the first thing. So I'm excited for the content. I don't even like to film the same thing more than once, twice a week. I just don't. I'd like to switch off. Um, I'm also a little hesitant. We got this 2500 and 900 coming, but the 300, where all those LPSs look, they look so good that I don't think I even want to wreck that system. And I'm more likely to keep that system and buy new coral, I think. And then lastly, we leave the clam tank once the all the leaks are fixed, so we can put the acros back in the 250s. And clams are something that we've had some issues with. They're very difficult. They could just one gets something pinched or gapping, and then the next goes, and we don't know whether it was the sulfates or it was the TGP or the gas. But we're working on it. I have a few big ones still alive, but that's something that I would love to get back up and going again. Guys like Julian and telling me I have to quarantine clams, that they carry diseases and this and that, but nobody tells me what I have to look for. Like, do I have to or is it protozoa? Like, what do I have to do to quarantine them? And they all look good for like 6 months, and then they just crap out. So we're still trying to figure out the clam thing.
Awesome.
Other than that, things are going pretty smoothly. I'm looking forward to the experiments and bringing, information to the hobby.
Awesome. So I'm going to jump right into one more thing that I'm going to do, and then I'm going to ask you one final closing question. So I'm going to give out actually two $150 gift cards. So it's two $150 gift cards. I'm going to ask a question about this call, and whoever gets whoever answers first is going to win the gift card. Send me a DM if you win. I probably won't respond till tomorrow, but I obviously will tomorrow. So the first question is a very specific date. And the first, it's weird because when some people answer, answer that I see first, sometimes people think they answered first. So it's whoever I see answer first. It might not necessarily, it might show second on someone else's screen, but whatever I see first on my screen is who I think is the first winner, is the first person who answered. So what is the exact date of when the first fish was put into the 17,000 gallon? I have it written down here, and Andrew can confirm. Once I see this date pop up, I'll proclaim you the winner. Let's see if anyone was listening that early on, because that was literally almost 2 hours ago. Yes, somebody got it. So Ari _ Idaho Reef, November 2nd, 2019. Ari _ Idaho. You're the first one. Send me a DM. Now, the second question is going to be a fun question. And what happened that got Andrew kicked out of a condo in New York City? Whoever answers that one first wins a $150 gift card. Let's see who's going to answer that one properly. What flooded 4 floors? Again, Ari _ Idaho Reef. I'm going to see if someone else can answer that, though, because they already won water leak. All right, I'll give it to that. So I'm going to give it to Ultimate _ Construction.
Specifically an RO gasket. Just blew.
So if that...
I was making RO overnight.
All right, listen. I'm going to give out 3 $150 gift cards. The second winner is Ultimate _ Construction. Okay, you're the second winner. You'll message me. And then the third winner, because they actually answered it correctly, is Anon from Collector Coral. So Anon, you're also a winner. So all 3 of you guys, send me a DM, and you guys will get the gift cards. Now, this is the last and final question. We've heard about the leak. We've heard about 2 tanks blowing. We've literally heard about all these different things that can go wrong. My final question to you is is it all worth it? Everything you're doing, is it all worth it?
Depends who you ask.
I'm asking you.
I believe it has served me well from a distraction of the market, from getting my mind, always working my mind. And sometimes there's more than just wealth, and taking care of something and creating something is very, very soothing and good for the soul.
It's a tough question. I appreciate your answer, and I appreciate you being on the spot answering that. So, guys, that is the interview. The last thing is, Andrew, where can people find you? Where do you want to direct people to? So this is going to show up on a YouTube. It's going to take about a month to process on YouTube.
Right.
So whether you're listening in your car, whether you're on your podcast, like where do you want people to follow you, find you? Like, how do you want them to get in touch with you? Like, what's the deal?
Okay, so Instagram is Polo_Reef. Okay. Very short, nice music videos there, pretty pictures, not a lot of education. We have a Facebook group that's only got about 15,000, but it's growing rather quickly. And that's Polo Reef by Andrew Sandler, and there are some mad scientists in there, and really people that can answer any question. So that's a great place for resources to ask questions. If you like the Instagram thing, but maybe a little bit more on Facebook, there's a page, a public page called Polo Reef by Andrew Sandler, public figure. That's the one that just went through 100,000. And then the educational stuff we're doing mostly on YouTube, but we throw some shorts on there also. So that's where they can find me.
So basically, Polo Reef on all the social media channels is what we're hearing.
Correct.
Awesome, man. Well, you guys heard it right from Andrew. Thank you guys so much for being here for the last 2 hours, and thank you, Andrew, and thank you for your team. They were
Shane. Thanks for everything you do. So. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
I know doing these are not easy.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun though. It's a passion, you know. So again, thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys on the next show.
Thanks, everybody.
Andrew, take care.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
We hope you're enjoying this episode. Thank you for listening to SBB Coral Reef Keeping Secrets Podcast. If you like the content, all we ask is for you to please share with your friends and comment, as that's the only way we can spread the word and grow this channel.